Welcome to Talk to Me. I'm your host, Brenda Warren, the Soulutionist. And today, my guest is none other than Mr. Ron Moore. He was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, where he received his education in the New York City public school system. He was reared by a single mother who loved him dearly and worked tirelessly to provide for him. Nevertheless, he faced many difficult challenges in his neighborhood, such as drugs, gang violence, and no male influence in the home. He still recalls with great clarity how a very close friend of his was shot and killed, and how that tragedy compelled him to make the decision to get more out of his life. Consequently, Mr. Moore decided to focus his energy in athletics. Basketball would be his ticket to a better life. He received an athletic scholarship. He attained his degree in education at West Virginia State University. He was drafted into the NBA by the New York Knicks and was later traded to the infamous bad boys, the Detroit Pistons. Mr. Moore retired from playing professional basketball in September of 2000. Recognized that his passions were not only rooted in basketball, but in giving back, he ventured into the career of coaching. Mr. Moore decided to enter into entrepreneurship and start his own business called RIM, RIMM Inc. It's revitalizing inner city males to men, a comprehensive life skills, conflict resolution, restorative justice, social, emotional learning, college and careers, as well as athletic program that assists youth in becoming productive men in society. Mr. Moore says that he will work diligently to provide young people with necessary tools and life skills that will teach them to make good decisions and see themselves as productive, responsible men. Mr. Moore, that is so needed, especially in today's climate. Welcome to Talk to Me. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
You know, Mr. Moore, I have so many questions after reading your bio, which is much more extensive than what I laid out here. But we'd be here for the whole show if I laid out your entire bio with all your certifications, all your education, all your award-winning contributions to the community. You know, the Developing Young Minds program. There's just so much to unpack. But we're just going to start from the beginning. As a young man growing up in New York, how did you first decide, after seeing what happened to your friend, that I can do better and
Right.
make that decision that changed your life?
Well, growing up in Brooklyn, you go through a host of different things. New York City, if many people don't know New York City, a minute is 35 seconds. So there's so much going on, so much happening around you, and it can easily get involved in the negatives of the streets. And I was headed in that direction till a really good close friend of mine was killed. And that kind of woke me up a little bit. That made me realize that there was a better way for me. And, I enjoyed playing the game of basketball. But, before that, I didn't want to go to school, didn't want to go to class, didn't like school, still didn't like school after I decided to make that change. But I knew that in order for me to do in my life what I needed to do, and education was prevalent. So I made sure I started focusing on those academics, really putting in that work on the basketball court, becoming a better player. There lies the opportunity for a college scholarship to West Virginia State. And as you said, been able to, attain my degree in education, and being drafted into the NBA, playing in the NBA a few years, playing abroad overseas and in Europe, various countries, and coming back and starting to coach college basketball and just giving back to young people. And I can recall, if I may, I could recall when I started to have this love for young people. When I was in college, we went to speak to a group of kids at a middle school, and I saw the things that was going on in that school. And that really made me focus and say, these kids need guidance. These kids need someone to, give them a different perspective of life and not just what's in front of them. And thus here I am. This is, why I created Revitalizing Inner City Males to Men.
Now, when so many people in your position, they made it out and you get to the NBA, what, I understand that you saw what was happening in the schools, but how did you then begin to say, I want to go back to my community, make a difference, and then start the process? I mean, how did you even know where to start?
Well, a really good friend of mine who I've known many years ago, I knew he had a program because we did some work together at another program before I left New York City. And this, of course, was after my retirement from playing basketball. And going back to the community, I went back and did some work. And then that's where I got my college basketball start of coaching. And then, of course, that took me out of the city. And then finding out that he started a program himself, which is an award-winning program called Man Up Incorporated in Brooklyn, New York. And I went back and we sat and talked for hours about what he was doing in the community. And I said, I would love to be a part of something like that. And this would be my give back to my community where I was born and raised and where I grew up. And thus he gave me the opportunity to be the education and athletic director. And I began that process of giving back to the community in which where I grew up.
Why is it so important for you to develop young minds?
It's important because our young people are dealing with a host of issues, that keep them from, keep getting the academic experience that they need to be successful. They're dealing with family issues at home. They're dealing with incarcerated parents, drug addicted parents and family members. They're dealing with the negatives of the street, gangs. They have, their parents are working and working hard to provide for them, and they get caught with the wrong people in the streets. And this is just my opportunity, because I could have easily gone that way myself because I was involved in those negatives also. But for me, my out was basketball. And it doesn't necessarily have to be basketball for these young people. It can be anything else, but we have to introduce those kids to our resources that we can provide for them, and give them the resources and give them that opportunity to develop, the wherewithal to say no to certain things, to make better decisions, to focus on the positives that are around them instead of the negatives that are around them. So this is something that I've always wanted to do. It's something I've always wanted to be able to do to help a young child, change his life, because it happened for me. If I know I have that attitude, if it were able to happen for me out of that same community, I know it can happen for someone else. Regardless of the love and everything that I had in my family, I had that love and I had that, family. My mom had me in church and, growing up in the church and doing those things, but I still, was straddling that fence between good and bad, but when I made the decision that I wanted to be better, that's when things began to change for me. So it's just a matter of putting the resources out in front of these young people so they can have a choice to either go the negative way or the positive way. And if they have a choice, then they can make better decisions. Some of these kids don't even think they have a choice.
And choices are important, and you had the choice, which is why you were able to change the trajectory of your life. Mr. Moore, with what's going on today with Black men being targeted the way they are, how do you help the young men make better decisions through your program?
Through the program, it's just giving them that self-esteem that they need, help them build that character within themselves, help them see themselves in a different light. I let these young people know all the time, you don't have to be a product of your environment. Your community don't make you, you make the community. So it depends on, I try to teach them how to not let the negatives of their community dictate what happens in their life. I teach them how to learn and grow and become more self-aware, become culturally aware, become aware of who they are as young Black men, Black boys, and into becoming into manhood, and teaching them how to be men and teaching them how to live the right way and make right decisions. I can't take it personal when they don't do it. I've had kids leave the program and come back. But I've also had kids that I was able to help get into college and experience life in a different way also. So it's just putting the resources out in front of them. It's just giving them the confidence and the self-esteem that they need to believe in themselves, that they could be successful in whatever they decide to do.
I know you are certified in conflict resolution, and how big of a part does that play in helping your young men learn to make better decisions?
Teaching them how to make decisions without resulting into violence, teaching them how to think critically about what they're about to get into, not worry about, because a lot of times it's about what people say about you, is how they get into a lot of these beefs. A lot of times it's These kids don't own nothing in these communities, but they think they own the streets. So we got to take them out of that situation, take them out of those environments like that, and help them understand that instead of using violence, just use your words. And if you can't use your words, then you need to walk away from the situation. Just separate yourself from the situation, and also choosing who you hang with. That's very important as well, and understand who's your friend and who's not your friend.
With all the concern and talk surrounding police violence towards our young Black men, how do you prepare the young boys in your tutelage for their encounters? And I say for their encounters with police, because statistically it shows that 9 in 10 Black men will have an encounter that's not so positive with the police. I was surprised to hear that I knew it was bad, but I just did not expect to see that. Are there anything in your program that teaches them how to deal with authority figures, be it the police or anyone else?
Absolutely. We teach them to learn to respect authority. We get them to, we even go through a little session in my program to learn how to even deal with the police when you come into those encounters. We talk about making sure you carry some form of ID around with you, whether it's your school ID, whatever type of ID that you can carry with you, you always make sure you have ID in your pocket. Secondly, we try to make sure that you understand the way you speak to a police officer, because they're looking for you to why are you stopping me? Why are you trying, why is he coming at me like that? They're looking for that. So we teach them how to remain calm, just use your words and speak professionally, speak respectfully, and then hopefully they'll be able to, move on and see the next day. It's those that really start to, fire back at them verbally when those encounters start to happen. So we work with young people on learning how to speak to authority.
Does your program include training on emotional intelligence, or in addition to conflict resolution and self-mastery? Is that part of your program as well?
Absolutely. That's where self-awareness and cultural awareness come in. And we teach the young people how to see themselves in a different light, think of themselves differently. It's a time and place for everything. You can, I'm from the hood. I grew up from the hood. I'm from the streets, but I know when I can have that mentality and that attitude, depending on where I am, but then I know how to flip the switch, understand that, where I am, I have to learn how to be a little bit more respectful and more articulate in the way I use my words.
What is the age group of the young men that you mentor?
Between 5th grade up through high school, and sometimes beyond, a little older, 18, 19-year-olds, even those that are in detention centers that are dealing with that. So when they come out, we teach them how to be able to work with, get back into society and succeed, and get back into understanding the importance of educating themselves and getting back into society in a positive way.
So if you start with 5th graders, you're starting pretty young to get them aware of how to control their tempers, how to manage their emotions. Have the schools been really receptive with this program that you offer?
Some of the schools are receptive. Some principals would go out and try to raise money just so that they can have the program in their schools. Of course, schools, they spend money on the things that they choose to spend money on. But one thing I tell principals all the time, you can't put a price on a child's life. And I'm also an educator. And you have a responsibility to make sure that those young people have their science, math, and English and all that taken care of. But you can't do the life skills part of it. You can't do the social emotional learning part of it. That's where I come in, where I can help you give them those life skills that they need to be able to see themselves in a positive way, see themselves completing, homework assignments and schoolwork and those things, and be able to work towards the goals that we teach them to set for themselves.
Within your program, is there anything that is specific to young men that may have already become fathers?
I have had a few that are fathers, and we teach them how to be fathers, whether they are involved with that woman or not. Your relationship with that woman has nothing to do with your responsibility to work with, to be in your son or daughter's life. That should be a requirement that you require of yourself. To be a part of your child's life, and do the best that you can. If you're trying to, if you have to work where you need to work to make money to do what you have to do, then that's just what it is. You have to do it, be able to spend time. And that's what's most important. These young people don't have that wherewithal to understand that just because I'm not working right now, I'm not bringing in any money, that I can't be in that child's life. Yes, your time is more important than that money. But of course, we want you to be able to understand you need to get some form of employment so that you can take care of your child and take care of the responsibilities that you're supposed to as a man.
Now, I know that you support the kids in their academic endeavors, but is there a portion of your program that is geared towards entrepreneurial for those kids that want to start or own their own businesses sometimes in the future or while they're in school?
Absolutely. That's where our college and careers program come in. But we don't just talk about going to college, because college ain't for everybody, So we talk about, trade schools, learning a trade and still learning the business aspect of it, because you never know. You may be a plumber. Are you willing to be a plumber? Most kids would say, no, I would never be a plumber. But when they find out the money that they can make being a plumber, and there's always going to be jobs for plumbers, you could become successful and own your own business in that way. So we give them all the resources and let them know all the resources that are out there to put them in position to make those decisions so that they can become successful and become into entrepreneurship.
Is there a dress code for the young men that are in your program?
We don't. I don't have a code for it. I got to accept young people as they are, but at the same time, they do know no hats in the building. They do know pull your pants up. We don't play that. You got to come in being respectful and understanding who you are. I know it's a trend or whatever they call it that's out here, but your pants sagging off your behind is not nothing that anybody want to see. You got to pull your pants up and come in and be respectful and learn how to dress. But we go through those etiquette programs. I teach young boys how to iron, how to tie a tie, how to dress, how to wear their clothes, those things, how to speak, those etiquette courses for young men so that they can learn to how to be in public.
Now, I know you do this in the school system and you do it in certain private settings. Is there an opportunity for like a parent that hears this and say, you know what, I'd like that for my child? Do you have separate coaching sessions that you provide, or do one-on-one services with a mentor?
Well, we haven't gotten into the one-on-one services, but we are willing to go into certain community centers and communities in churches, wherever they will have our programs, so that we can bring those resources to those young people. But at the same time, if a parent was to call and say, hey, my child is XYZ, I would never say no, because anything that I can do to help that young man become better and become successful, that's what my responsibility is to my community.
What if a young person that's in the group wants to go into the military? Do you provide support for that as well?
Well, we would give them the information that they would like if they're really interested in going into the military. Me personally, I think there's another route, but I do know that also that the military could provide for a college education. You can learn different trades like mechanic. If you go in the Army, you can learn how to be a mechanic, learn computers and those things, and they may be able to utilize those things when they come out of the military. But I that's not something that I talk about. But if they come to me with it, I let them know the opportunities that are there for them in the military and what they can learn in the military. But I also try to persuade them into saying, you don't need to go that route for you to be successful. There are different ways and things that we can do to help you become the success that you're looking for.
Are there any women in your organization that helps with this mentoring of the men, or is it mainly just men mentoring young men?
Mainly it's just men mentoring young men, but we are in the process of bringing in a couple of women that, because I believe that women should be working with the young sisters. Men should not be working with girls. So I'm focused right now on the boys, because there are a lot of programs out here for young girls. It's not very many programs out here for boys. So we need to bring these resources to these boys so we can help them become men, so that they can learn how to, be leaders in the home, teach them how to be leaders in the home, be leaders of the household, understand their responsibility as a man to take care of your home. So, we need that for our community.
You mentioned about your mother taking you to church earlier. in our conversation, how important does faith play in what you're teaching the young boys in your academy?
I try not to bring faith into it. If they're interested in it, we might have some discussions about it, but I try to teach them how to have self-faith, how to have belief within yourself and believing that you can be successful. Because sometimes, there are so many different faiths out here, so many different beliefs out here. I do not want to embarrass anybody or make anybody feel any way about a certain religion, so I don't even bring that into the forefront. It's strictly about who we are as young Black men, helping young Black boys become powerful, strong Black men.
With your organization, do you encourage the young men to become part of the community by volunteer services or getting involved in politics or school government or anything? And do you have any classes geared towards that in your program?
We definitely encourage all those areas of being strong in the community and giving back, particularly our high school boys, giving back to the younger boys, helping to bring them up, because they need to see young boys younger than them need to see them doing positive things. If younger people are seeing you out in the streets doing certain negatives that you're out there doing, they're going to follow that. So you got to be able to show them that you are a man of leadership, you are a man of integrity, you are a man of character. They need to see that so that they can follow you in a positive way. So we definitely talk about those things, and we show them what politics is. We show them how to be strong in the community. We show them how to be leaders in the community. We show them things so that they can have that opportunity to become leaders in some way, shape, or form.
I realize that right now your organization is working out of New York and in Delaware. Are there any plans for expansion?
Absolutely. If whoever's interested in the program, if I can't get there and do it myself, what I do is I do trainings there. I would come and spend some time there, and they can purchase the curriculum for themselves, and I'll train their staff or whoever wants to be trained in the program, and then they can purchase the program for themselves. They just got to be locked in to not being able to take it anywhere else, but other than within their own program.
So is this program something that is self-paced, computerized, or is it one that you specifically come on site and teach?
I'm on site, hands-on. It's this virtual thing, it doesn't work. You got to be hands-on when you're dealing with working with these young people. They need to be able to touch you. They need to be able to look in your eyes. They need to be able to feel you and understand how the seriousness of this. And so definitely hands-on is the best way to go.
Is your program for the whole entire school year, or is it for a matter of weeks and it's repeated? How does that work?
Well, if the school wanted, and they want it for the year, we can do it for the year. But we normally go through 16-week intervals with 2 to 3 days per week where we're in the schools for 16 weeks. And we'll be able to go in the schools during that time and do what we do.
And if someone wanted to get additional information about your program, where would they go?
They can go to the website, www.reminc.com, and the information, they can send me an email or give me a call, and we can talk about what the need is for them and talk about how we can collaborate and work together on some things.
Now, I know the pandemic has changed the way that you do business.
Well, I've had some virtual programs, some virtual sessions with the young people. I'll do a Zoom with about, maybe 20, 30 kids on, and we'll still have the opportunity to communicate in this way. So and I'm constantly in touch with whoever's in my program. I'm sending emails or I'm sending text messages, or I'm contacting them in some kind of way just to make sure that they're still on task with what we talked about, so that they can continue to make them to be better.
As I was looking through what all you've accomplished since growing up in New York, going to the NBA, coming out, becoming part of a award-winning program, can you honestly say that you ever thought that this program would be where it is today?
I can't honestly say yes, but I'm not done. There's still so much I want to do. There's still so much so much work to be done. I've been able to help a lot of young people do some positive things. I've gotten over the years, I've gotten 32 young people that are now playing college basketball, in college, doing some different things and working towards entrepreneurship, making better decisions. But there's still so much more work to do. So I'm happy with where we are, but I'm not content.
If there was one kid that stood out for you right now, you say, when you look back and say, that child made me believe I made a difference. Is there one, and you can tell us a little bit about his story?
Young brother that I had, he wanted so bad to play football, but he just did not want to go to class. And he was really into those streets. And I saw him out in the streets one night. This is when I was with the other program. And I saw him out in the streets one night. And I just went right to him and told him straight up, look, you're going to be dead or in jail if you continue to be out in these streets. You said you wanted to play football. I'm giving you the blueprint because I know what it's going to take for you to get there. And it was hard getting to this kid, but I never stopped talking to him. I never stopped getting to him. And one day then when I left and I saw him, and I actually saw him in Delaware, and he said to me, Coach, I was in farmer's market and this kid walked up to me and I'm looking and I'm like, wow, he looks familiar. He said, Coach, I want to thank you. You changed my life. I've been here at William Penn playing football, and he's on his way to Boston College to play football. That's something I'll never forget, because I didn't never think that this kid would make it, but I wouldn't give up on him. And then it's crazy, and how ironic is that I come to Delaware to bring my program, and he's already here in high school, finishing high school. He started, he was living with his family here, and he's in William Penn High School playing football, and he's on his way to Boston College to play football.
Outstanding.
That's so that means that he listened to me regardless of everything that he tried to fight me on. He was still listening. And most young people listen, they just don't know how to make the changes they need to make better decisions.
And that's where RIM comes in.
Absolutely.
Well, Mr. Moore, looking back, knowing what you know now, what piece of advice, just give me one piece of advice you would give your younger self, knowing what you know now about starting RIM?
Keep believing in yourself. Keep striving for success. Keep pushing. I've had negative in my life for a long time. I've even had family members that were negative toward me, told me I would never be able to do anything that I wanted to do. And having that opportunity of playing basketball, graduating and going on to college, playing basketball, graduating college and being drafted into the NBA, all the naysayers, take that. And so I followed that for the rest, just kept following that. And this is why RIM is what it is today. It's because I would not quit. I would not give up. And I won't let anybody tell me or these kids that they can't do anything.
With that in mind, can you tell me how what you're doing now with RIM is helping you live your best life now?
Just because I get the opportunity to change a life, to save a life, there's this quote by Oprah that's on my website that says, no matter what you give or what you receive, there's no greater gift than giving up of who you are to someone else to help someone else. There's no greater gift than helping somebody else become successful, particularly when you see these young people are starving for structure. They're starving for attention. They're starving for guidance. And, they don't know how to accept it. But when you steadfast on them and you on them and you on them and then you on them every day, all the time, and you see the transformation and you see the growth and you see them moving towards the goals that you help set for them, and then they accomplish it, that's the greatest feeling in the world.
I can imagine that would be. Well, Mr. Moore, if you would stand by with me, we're at the part of the show where I'm going to ask you and the audience to thank a veteran. If you've ever watched this show before, you know that when we come close to the end, I always ask the audience and the guests to go to www.nebcc.org/projects. That is where you'll find information to join the Basket Brigade. You see, my friend Lisa Deschamps, the executive director of the New England Veterans Chamber of Commerce, has provided a way for you to thank a veteran. All you have to do is pick one of the writing prompts, one for every month of the year, and write a note, a paragraph, a sentence, a simple thank you to a veteran. Once you do that, at the end of the year, Lisa and her team will compile that into a beautiful book with illustrations and place it in a gift basket full of goodies. At the beginning of the year, on January 1 of 2022, some very lucky veterans will get that gift basket filled with goodies and that wonderful book full of appreciation, one that you can become a part of. Go to www.nebcc.org/projects and thank a veteran. It's never too late to show appreciation. Mr. Moore, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to give the audience?
I like to say that if you have the opportunity to make a difference in a young person's life, take advantage of it. These young people need leaders. These young people need people to show that they care. So if anything that you can do to give back in the way of mentoring to these young people, do it. It's the greatest feeling in the world to watch a young person grow and develop into something that they never thought that they would be able to. So I always say, just if you can touch a young person in a positive way, in some way, shape, or form.
Mr. Moore, I'd like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do to develop young minds. Our young Black men need more men that will step up and do exactly what you do. And I appreciate you for the impact you're making in our community. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you, the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. Choose wisely. Be blessed, everyone.